Have you ever gotten a simple paper cut, and then a few days later, you look down and it's just gone? It's easy to take for granted, but what's happening there is a tiny biological miracle. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that incredible process, how our bodies break, and more importantly, how they put themselves back together. Let's dive in.
You can think of our skin as this amazing, flexible suit of armor. It's our first line of defense against, well, everything. So what actually happens when that armor gets breached? It's not just a tear in the fabric, it's the starting pistol for an incredibly complex and fascinating chain reaction inside our bodies.
Okay, so to really understand healing, we first need to get on the same page with the language. We have to speak the lingo that doctors and scientists use to define exactly what happens when we get hurt.
First up, the big one, injury. This is the giant umbrella term for pretty much any damage that comes from an outside force. We're talking about a broken bone, a concussion from a sports game, or even damage you can't see, like internal bleeding. This is our official starting point.
Now, let's zoom in a little bit to the word wound. See, while an injury can be a deep bruise or a fracture, a wound is specifically about a break. It's a forcible separation in our soft tissues, our skin, our fat, our muscles. That loss of continuity is the real key here.
So, how do these things happen? Well, injuries really come in two main flavors. You've got your blunt injuries. Think of the widespread crushing force from a fall or a car accident. And then you have penetrating injuries. These are caused by something sharp. And the tricky part is the entry point might look tiny, but it can create a deep, hidden path of destruction.
All right, so a wound has happened. Now what? Well, for a medical professional, the first job is to basically become a detective. They need to figure out the exact identity of that wound because how they classify it is going to dictate every single thing they do next.
And here's the first most important fork in the road. Is the skin broken or not? If it is, that's an open wound. The immediate danger, invasion from the outside world. We're talking bacteria and infection. If the skin is still intact, it's a closed wound, but that doesn't mean you're in the clear. There could be some serious trouble brewing underneath, like a bruise or a pocket of blood.
Diving a little deeper into just the open wounds, how the skin got broken changes everything. An abrasion, that's your classic scrape. An incised wound is a clean slice, and those bleed a lot because the blood vessels are cut so neatly. A laceration, on the other hand, is a jagged tear. The crushed vessels might actually bleed less, but those raggedy edges are a perfect breeding ground for infection. And then you get into the really serious stuff, like a deep puncture wound or the chaos of a missile wound, which causes damage in all sorts of ways.
Now, this is a really critical distinction in the ER. Is a wound tidy or untidy? A tidy wound, think a clean cut from a kitchen knife, has healthy, living tissue edges. You can usually just stitch that right up. But an untidy wound, that's a whole different ballgame. It's dirty, it's got dead tissue, and if a doctor just closed that up, they'd be sealing in a ticking time bomb of infection.
Okay, now for the part that is just mind-blowing. The moment the damage is done, our body kicks off this incredible, fully automated repair sequence. It's like an emergency dispatch goes out, and a whole internal construction crew gets mobilized in seconds.
This whole process happens in 4 amazing phases. First, you have hemostasis. That's the emergency crew that shows up within hours to plug the leak. Next is inflammation, kind of like the cleanup crew, rushing in to fight off germs and clear out the debris. Then comes proliferation, the building phase, where new blood vessels and a whole new scaffold of tissue are built. And finally, the long, slow remodeling phase, where that new patch is strengthened and refined into a scar over weeks, months, or even years.
But here's a crazy fact. After all that incredible work, all that biological engineering, the final scar tissue is only ever going to be about 80% as strong as the original skin. It's an amazing repair job for sure, but it's also a reminder that the patch is never quite as good as the original.
And speaking of strength, there's a really important milestone in this healing journey. At about the 12-week mark, that new scar tissue has gained most of the strength it's ever going to have. It's not 100% like we just said, but this is the point where the repair is considered pretty solid.
But, this beautiful, elegant healing process isn't guaranteed. There are a ton of things that can go wrong, throwing a wrench in the works and creating some major roadblocks on the path to recovery.
Some of the biggest enemies to healing are systemic, meaning they affect your whole body. Things like being older or not getting enough protein and vitamins can slow that repair crew way down. And conditions like diabetes or habits like smoking can be absolutely devastating because they choke off the blood and oxygen supply that a healing wound desperately needs.
Then you have the local troublemakers, problems right there at the wound site. If the blood supply to that specific spot is bad, the construction crew can't even get to the job site. A raging infection, a tiny piece of debris left inside, or even just too much tension pulling the edges apart can bring the whole healing process to a grinding halt. And when healing goes sideways, the results can be really serious. Wound dehiscence is basically a surgeon's worst nightmare. It's when a wound that's been stitched up just bursts open. Then you have issues with the scars themselves. A hypertrophic scar gets raised up, but it stays inside the lines of the original cut. A keloid, though, is a scar that just doesn't know when to quit, growing way beyond the injury. And a contracture is a scar that tightens up so much it can actually limit your movement. So when the body's own repair system is struggling or just plain overwhelmed, what do? Well, that's when we call in the experts and open up the doctor's toolkit, which is full of ways to help get that healing process back on track.
But what can you do right in the moment? It really boils down to 4 key steps. Number 1, stop the bleeding. Put pressure on it. That's your best friend. Number 2, keep it clean. Cover it up to keep germs out. Number 3, manage the pain. And number 4, if you think there's a broken bone involved, keep it from moving. Simple stuff, but it can make a huge difference.
Now, in the hospital, the game plan changes completely depending on the wound. A clean cut that's only a few hours old, yeah, they can probably stitch that up right away. But a dirty wound, the strategy is different. A surgeon will clean it, cut away any dead tissue, and might actually leave it open for a few days before closing it up, just to make sure no infection gets trapped inside. And if it's already infected, closing it isn't even an option until that infection is gone.
For the really tough cases, doctors have some amazing technology. One is called a wound vac. It's basically a special sponge and a vacuum sealed over the wound. This thing pulls out fluid, brings down swelling, and actually encourages fresh new tissue to grow. Then there's something called a fasciotomy. This is a dramatic emergency surgery for a condition called compartment syndrome, where swelling inside a limb is so bad it's cutting off the blood flow. Surgeons literally have to slice it open to relieve the pressure and save the limb.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, from that first tear in our skin to the years-long process of building a scar, it's just a biological masterpiece. It's this powerful, automatic system for damage control, cleanup, and reconstruction. And it really makes you wonder, right? What can this incredible process of physical healing teach us about our own capacity for resilience in every other part of our lives?